you need to have a farming mentality, is because that entire process, right from seed to the entire plant tree, is a journey, and you need to observe
Mhm.
water, sunlight, everything, right? So community is exactly that, right?
Hi, sir. Welcome to my channel, and
Right.
thanks for making time to be on my channel. So, hi everyone. Welcome to my channel, to everyone of you as well. And let me give a very short introduction of Prajyot sir. So he's the founder of SoftWorld and is based out of Goa, and been an industry advisor of Goa startups and IT policy making for quite some time now. And he's fondly known as the Android Man of Goa. Right. And when I started my journey as a GDG organizer, right, I had Prajyot sir as a mentor, and there are very few people I still call sir, apart from my actual teachers. Prajyot sir is one of them, and I am so happy to be interviewing him today. So yeah, let's get started.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much, Review. I'm very excited to be part of this. Um, uh, I've seen the kind of work you've been doing as well. I'm excited to be talking to you this time, and I'm really looking forward for the set of questions that come my way today.
thank you, sir. So let's start with GDG Goa, right? GDG Goa is one of the oldest GDGs in India, right?
Right.
So how did it start, and what was the motivation?
Right. Yeah. So we go back long back. We started as Google Technology User Group.
Yeah.
In a short form, it was known as GTUX. Very popular, and during that time, very few groups. Microsoft obviously had student events that used to happen as well. JTUC was one of the initiative that happened in Goa. And what was really exciting about it is back then no one really talked about technology user groups, right? I mean, there was a
Yeah.
time where people used to write articles on published
Mhm.
but not really be actively participating in offline events. And offline is a great opportunity for people to have a lot of meetups and interact and network for that matter, right? G was an idea for having like-minded people. It was actually a very distant idea where people thought that being part of Google developer group back then,
Mhm.
uh, it would really help people to network, and more importantly, have a synergy between two people to interact, to transfer and exchange knowledge. I think that was one of the important things that happened. And obviously, Goa is predominantly not really known as a technological hub compared
Yeah.
to almost, we stand almost, what, 20, 12 years now. We started around 2010, and I think since then there have been a lot of improvements that has happened in terms of how Goa is perceived, right? We
Mhm.
recently had our connecting points, as you know, the international airport, which is the second international airport.
Yeah.
So now you see Goa evolved more from a perspective which is more than just tourism. Back then there were hardly any associations or groups that happened. Now you see the trend happening. So GTAC actually spent a lot of time in terms of how students evolved, what was the technical outsets from the community, and we saw a diverse range from there, right? So initially the focus, what we really had was on mobile. So that's when Android came in picture. So we really hooked on to only a certain specific things. It could be a web, it could be Android, and these were the only two focus that we really went through. And obviously, when GTAC got rebranded as GDG, that's when a lot of events started happening more often than never. So we used to do smaller meetups, but then the best thing that happened was Google developers coming more strongly in terms of communities. And what started with
Mhm.
initially like a four odd members. You asked me a question, how did it start? Very exciting thing is this actually started over a coffee meetup actually. So we were sitting of CCD, a few bunch of people, some students, and then probably we thought this would be a great opportunity for us also to learn and then explore the community growth as well. And over the years, we have seen that happening. One of the exciting things, obviously, is things do take time, right? So any
Mhm.
technological community does take time. It has taken a huge amount of efforts from all the community people, made delegate can be the organizers, and that is how Goa has got its more of a technical standpoint today. And there has been a lot of things, and starting a technological group obviously is a bit of challenge,
Yeah.
specifically in a small state such as Goa back then. Now, obviously, because of the technology, the 4Gs and the 5Gs and the stronger internet, great travel points, I would say, is one of the
Mhm.
factors that has really worked for Goa. You were also part of the one event that we recently
Yeah.
did. So, the kind of synergies, people have a reason to come to Goa now and interact.
Yes.
And I wouldn't really say that things have evolved like a 3x or a 4x from now. But I think where we stand, we, as a community, I think we have a good strong point in terms of how Google
Mhm.
developer groups have helped Goa to evolve. I think it plays an important role, and a complete credit goes to the community circle, including the developers, to actually nourish Goan technological skin in terms of
Mhm.
GDGs, G-Talks, and I think where we stand today, it's been very exciting. Over to you, Rivu.
Yeah. That's really exciting to know about this journey, right? When I started, when you mentored me, right, back in 2017, then also it was difficult. And I can only imagine how difficult it had been in 2010, right? So
Yeah,
at that time, I was in college, probably second year. Second year, right?
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
So my next question is that uh, nowadays what we do is that we post it on Twitter, we post it on Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere to let people know that, hey, we are organizing an event, right?
Right.
Back then, how did you get attendees and how many attendees used to attend the meetups, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a very good question. Back then, obviously, lack of social media. I think social media, in a
Mhm.
way, has changed the way how we communicate, Rivu.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of personal, direct meetings rather than,
Mhm.
in exchanges. That's because you can you tend to learn a lot when you see a person rather than across the screens
Agreed.
and internet and networks, right? Back then
Agreed.
it was a bit of a challenge, right? So you need to create a local heroes among colleges first, right? So we
Mhm.
need to believe, we are building something and we want people to contribute. A lot of time, what happens is the communities get built for a sake, for a purpose, but forgetting of the fact that what are the audience really expecting from when we just say it's Android, we came to a decision when we had more of a response from people and we saw the interest trend going right. And
Mhm.
how we did that is probably a simple email, because that was the best way how we could communicate with them. And we also created local heroes within the colleges, right? So we went each and every
Got.
college, we saw that interest level. We like a mock before the actual community being saying yes. That's
Mhm.
one. The second, obviously, is also saw local inspirations amongst the colleges as well. Like, who is the popular face in the college who people probably will get attracted to, or who's willing to speak as well. Because community building also need local speakers and exchanges to happen, whether they would really be part of that system and why, right? So these were the important segments we connected, I think, back then really well. We used conventional mediums, like, we used to send local reminders as well. Press also helped us a lot. I think press, even today, plays an important role. And
Yeah.
being an organizer, I think it is also very important to keep in personal taste, right? They have to be respected
Mhm.
as much as the organizers. I think it's an equal responsibility. If you make an event, if it doesn't really go out to a right medium, it is of no point. And I say this with a
Mhm.
lot of confidence, and thanks to all the newspapers. I'll take this opportunity to thank all the newspapers across India and specifically in Goa who are always there. I'll give you a simple example, Rivu. I mean, whenever, even the recent event that we had of DevFest, the local media,
Yeah.
you must have seen, the people really came down with their own interest. I mean, we just had to reach out
Agree.
to,
Exactly.
and that is what the specialty is. I mean, you've been part of Kolkata and now Bangalore, obviously, but you see the
Mhm.
kind of I think they are the hidden heroes, right? I mean, we talk about hidden heroes.
Yeah.
The press is the hidden hero, right? You cannot go and become a bigger community or the largest community whatsoever without this media factor. I think whether it is e-media, whether it is print media, or simple
Mhm.
newspaper that you read in the morning. And in
Yeah.
Goa, we really knew that people read physical papers. I'm a big fan of physical papers, right?
Same
So I
here.
probably thought that would be a good, and I think that small little snippet really came. So there is post promotion, there is on the day promotion, and there is post promotion.
Mhm.
I think those media really help. We also had a few medium where people used to write blogs. We made
Mhm.
kind of a sequencing kind of a thing, like a drip circuit. It really worked for us.
Yes.
I was saying we created kind of a drip sequence.
Mhm.
In which people really believed they got what they really wanted for the event, what are they expecting from the events we met, and then what we delivered. So it kind of is a circle that we need to really follow. But larger credit to media that point, it still continues to plays important role. So I would say conventional media and then the local heroes that we created in group, that still remains Revu. We still have
Yeah.
those kind of people who kind of replace each other. And now obviously developer groups have evolved as well. You have student groups,
Yes.
you have got chapters, whether it is Computer Society of India, whether it is there are so many of them, right? So there is GDG and there are so many of them. So it makes a huge impact. So when I say about community, I'm talking about in general all the communities that grow technical skill set of people. So I think media plays an important role. But yeah, I mean, today we stand as a more sophisticated technology, easier to reach, but nothing back then, because it's fun to write an article to a newspaper and get the reviews for them, because it's a different perception. You tend to meet a lot of expectation for the other side as well. So yeah, Haribu, that's the point that I wanted to make. Over to you.
Yeah. So what is your recommendation for new GDG organizers, right? So nowadays there are a lot of GDGs coming up in very small cities, and I think that's very good, right? We need to spread GDG and we need to spread about technology as much as possible. So what's your recommendation for new GDG organizers who are just starting in small towns and who probably, just like me back in 2016, 2017, who has no idea how to organize an event, right? So what's your recommendation for them?
Yeah. So good question, Rivu. I think one of the most important thing what I see with technical communities is about having a clear mindset about why you want to really be part of the community. What is that is there for others you want to contribute. Usually a lot of time there is a selfish behavior that comes inherently, because we all human, we tend to do a lot of mistakes more often than ever, right? So there is that, okay, what are we going to get, right? So that is first factor. I think the flip question here is, what are you going to deliver to the people? When you serve people, that's when actual reflection would happen. And I think the point that you made as well, like, we have to see local heroes, right? You've been part of the community and then you've gone to evolve as a developer expert. Now, these are the stories we need to embrace, right? Talking to people like you who's been there in the space, in the technology domain, have grown and seen the path, right? I think that is one thing. So, quick tips that come over on my head right now would be, find a purpose that you really, what is the why behind you want to join a community? What would you help in, right? So what are you going to contribute in, right? There are several parameters. It's not just about technology. Communities is not about technology. It's about how you deliver as well. What are you delivering as well? So that's one. So obviously is to see a local find, right? Seeing someone's journey. Like I always talk that, instead of admiring someone at the top of the tier, create like those local bunch of people who are really doing well. Talk to them in their journey. That will help them to go to the next level, right? I mean, how about someone coming to you and talking to you about a GDE journey? I'm sure that you will be talking to them about how you really evolved, right? What do and don'ts of that. This is what we need to create. And third, and the last one I would rather say is just keep that ego aside, right? Sometimes we tend to overshadow someone. Everyone cannot be really expert in everything. Like sometimes someone would really be good at it. Like, someone would be really good at some specific points, but someone would really deflate at the other side, right? So learning and growing together, right? It's like a small little farmers together coming and growing the crops, right? So all farmers need to work together so that you have a farming mentality rather than just a craving mentality, right? It's just for the sake. You need to farm.
Exactly.
I consider community building is more like farming. You need to have a farming mentality, is because that entire process, right from seed to the entire plant tree, is a journey, and you need to observe water, sunlight, everything, right? So community is exactly that, right? The entire thing is what you wish to contribute first, then what will you get in return? Because communities, no matter whether it is developer groups or non-developer groups, once you contribute over consistency, I think everything pays back at the right time for you. I'm sure that applies to across communities across the world. But the point which I want to summarize over here is, first think about what you can contribute honestly and dedicatedly. That's when you can think about return over the time. I think this applies to all communities across all domains. Over to you.
Thank you. And what's your suggestion for, there was a very big gap in 2020 and 2021, right? There was very less community events and there wasn't much going on. So there are people who don't have an idea what a community is, right? Take the fresh graduates who graduated during that period. They don't really know what a community is. right?
Right.
For them, it's a new thing. So what's your recommendation for them to be part of, how to be part of a GDG? It can be a new GDG,
Yeah.
it can be a established GDG in Goa,
Right.
Ahmedabad, or Bangalore, or
Yeah.
Kolkata, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
to be part of a GDG?
I think it's just a free fall, right?
Mhm.
Technology cannot be evolved overnight, or you cannot be a developer
Yeah,
overnight. Developer is a journey, right? I mean, today we are living in the world where the years are not replication of how well you know. It is
exactly.
on that how you reflect. I don't see a contribution. Like, for example, a startup which makes money and startup doesn't make money, and then there is a startup which creates impact. You have so many
Yeah.
social entrepreneurs. And for me, the developer is not someone just develops code or at a point where there is a recognition. But I would also say
Mhm.
how well he has groomed the others as well, right? Maybe in the
Yeah.
society, maybe in the city. So I that's an impact of reflection, right? So someone has to be, grasping the knowledge, but I think you have to be a teacher, right? The developers
Mhm.
cannot be just developers. You need to be teacher at a point every time in your life. And that is where the actual, strength of a developer comes. And I would rather say that, sometimes when you can code, you cannot really go and talk to it, right? Because it is very
Yeah.
difficult. The codes are in the mind. And that itself is a bit of a great study, right? How you can grasp, but how you can even put it on the paper, right? For others to understand
Mhm.
is also a great reflection. So, a couple of recommendations obviously is go free fall, right? Go to events, just see yourself, go to an advanced level, not to 101s, right? I mean, sometimes we are living in a technology which is going at a 5x or 10x purpose, right? We are in the level where we cannot go back now. Back then, obviously, we could learn a hello world and then go on, right? Today, it's not about a hello
Mhm.
world. Today, it's
Yeah.
about jumping to hello world, everyone, right? Probably just going to a next level, but learning across the problems, right? You had to hit the core of the problem. So I think that is one of the things. Second is obviously to talk to local heroes, right? If you like someone's work, pitch it to them, go
Mhm.
meet them, coffee, internet, find some time for you. I mean, that's also an art how you respond to someone, right? Go and talk to
Yeah.
them, see their journey. I think it's a journey which you need to really embrace of someone else to walk that path
Mhm.
in your way. Right? So you get some information. Okay, Rivu, how did you become a GD? These are the things. Okay, I need to then understand. Okay, what can I improve on this, right? And then learn
Yes.
something which can improve, and then go by that path. And then you cannot handhold someone to walk the path. You just need to show, okay, this is
Yeah.
my light. This is where you need to walk, right? And that will only happen when they break out from the classroom and meet the real people
Yes.
and
Agreed.
professionals across different, like you have an experience across different verticals, and that plays important role
Mhm.
as well. It's not just one vertical. Community speaking, community engagement, and being a developer are three different parts of a triangle, and you
Yeah.
have to be really good at both, right? And all three rather. So I would say for the new student, one of the things I would highly recommend is start writing. I think writing is an important skill which people really don't admire, but few people don't admire.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great skill set to write your thought process to maybe so many mediums. Like you have now Notion, you have got so many of them. Just Google Docs,
Yes.
you have Git, Gitbook, everything. I mean, just put it down on paper. Get people to write. Get people. I mean, the best thing that can even happen to a student review is someone coming and one comment. The first on your blog, the first message that you receive, you've written, nice article. So this is very happy, a happy thing. And third and the last thing I would rather say to start here is to write some sort of a post or the newsletters, just to share your ideas back to the public. Because you think that the idea is small, but it creates an impact on someone who wants to see and grow you, right? So, when
Yes.
you see a reflection, small little efforts can really make a huge impact. So start small, thinking big. I think that's the kind of a route someone has to go. Interesting part is there is a lot of thought which come in people's mind. That's what if my content is bad? What is if my code which is
Yeah.
written is? I would rather say just go and hit the core. Go for it. I mean, if there is someone mistake, good people, good developers, good someone who wants to give an honest opinion will always give a honest opinion, right? There are so
Yes.
many mediums. You have blogs, you have a medium. You can go and comment, make yourself stand out to stand into the community. So you have to go out and then be part of the huddle and then come back and then contribute to the huddle. So these are the few elements I think Rivu put someone really stand out in the community. Over to you.
Agreed, agreed, completely agreed. I also started with writing blogs first and then moved to commit organizing, right? Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to writing, I get this question a lot. So I would get the answers to my viewers through you. So you also wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
So what was your experience on writing the book, and how did
Yeah.
you manage the time? So I get this question a lot whenever I meet something new. They ask me, "Hey, how did you manage time to write books?"
Yeah.
So I guess it is same for you. You also get this
Yeah.
question. So yeah,
Yeah. So, Rivu, one of the exciting things, right? I don't know how much you believe this, but your first book is the most horrible book you would ever write, right? Because you tend,
agreed.
because you're suddenly a new you are in suddenly a new world, right? But it was a learning experience, right? You put in so much of efforts, Rivu. The challenge part is writing a developer book is always challenging. It's
Yeah,
because of the two segments. One is you don't know the expectations of the audience, because the expectations of the audience need not necessarily be the publication houses expectation. They might give
yeah,
you a topic and you feel okay, you need to write about this without knowing the audience, because their
yeah,
mindset is to sell the book, right? Your mindset is writing some content, and you're writing for the first time, right? And it's a bit of a challenge. And obvious behavior as a developer, you start coding and start writing the developer's book without sometimes thinking that what is an expectation of other, right? When you go
yeah,
and go through this maturity period of writing after 6 7 months, when you get a feedback and all of that, then the second book you write, you're more organized, because things that are happening in terms of okay, how you could structure and all. This is one challenge. Obviously, the second challenge is when you have a co-author, right? Because
yes,
if the co-author is part of that, so much of a dependency, because you don't know the other person, you don't know what he's writing, what is the tone, and suddenly you are given the other half, right? So it's like 1 to 5 chapters you write and 5 to 10 you write,
yes,
and because if you get such a bad experience, 1 to 5 is written bad, the book commenting are bad, right? And I think
yeah,
generally, the book circuit has to be very closely knit. There is
mhm,
first is admiration of the efforts, because it takes a hell lot of time to write. There is no
yes,
bad author, Rivu. There is no bad author. Everyone has a mentality of writing in a specific manner, and you are in a democratic country where people are going to comment on you, right? Which
yeah,
is fine, because you put in 100% efforts. In the other side, someone has to acknowledge it. But I would say that if people want to really give a comment about a book, I think the best way to do it is to give a candid but an offline feedback. Is reason why,
yeah,
because you want to see he's open. He's not some superhuman who will write a book, best book in the world. There's no best book, right? So,
yeah,
I always see when you write, there's no bad book. It's just a book. Probably it has not caught someone's attention. Then it is the mistake of an author, right? You cannot say
mhm,
didn't understand it. So you will have like a set of people. And Rivu, the worst part is, right, as an author, is you go back in your years in school, right? You used to find those
mhm,
people who actually plagiarize the content. You had people xeroxing the content,
yeah,
and then you realize that you've been part of that entire journey, and now your books are all available for free online. It hurts,
yes,
right? It hurts
yeah,
because firstly because you have your revenues getting hit. The second is obviously because and then you realize that writing is an effort, right? Someone has to
yeah,
admire, right? And sometimes that is what is happening predominantly across the world. So writing a book was a bit of challenge because you have a different thing. But yeah, the second book that you write, you tend to get an evolution of the first one.
yes,
Now the challenge obviously is to meet everyone's requirement. Like for example, if it's a one-on-one book, someone would say, I understood everything of it, which is bound to happen, right? You cannot
mhm,
go in the structure, and everyone has a specific expertise, and then you have like an experience that comes in. So sometimes also I've seen, and that's a point number three, is I think the book communities, right, need to admire someone else's efforts. Maybe someone has written a bad book, right? Like the book
mhm,
that I'm talking about, Flutter, which I wrote, the second one is recognized by Google on their official tour guide, which is for the book guide, which is there on the official site.
yeah,
Now, if had it been given an opportunity now to write, I would have written, that'll be like a book three, and I would have written maybe much better than the previous one to go in a sequence. But the problem that happens, right, is obviously the time, right? This has to be a dedicated time. You need to really unwind yourself and spend a lot of time in
yes,
time. And the biggest challenge, and that's like the number one review, is that book has to complete in time. It's like imagine this, right?
yeah,
You are writing this book on an Android 12, and suddenly Android 13 comes in, and like suddenly go back and change it, right? So, and then what happens is this is an iterative process. You're on Android 13, the book gets released on Android 14. By the time they test it, it'll be Android 15, and you'll be sitting and actually making changes to that, right? So it is like a disconnect
yes,
of everything. Now you go back, today, and you go back to the often learned point, which is books which are written in the past, how many codes have run in the previously, right? So sometimes there are issues that can happen either ways, right? So
Yeah.
I would rather say when someone is writing a book, it is not necessary someone has to be an expert in the field. There are a lot of publication houses that openly, when you go, they will say, okay, your writing is good, you will be, you can go through and write a book. The biggest challenge is you need to really isolate time. This is not a part-time writing book. For me, it was a
Yeah.
bit of a challenge because I had to moderate between both the work. But had it been an opportunity now, I would rather say give a time of a 2 months. But technology books review, I personally my take, I would say that 2 to 3 months are good months to come out because newer versions again are bigger problems to write. Topic changes suddenly. You have a new feature which comes in. Today we are talking about mental health care and everything, and suddenly you put
Mhm.
that into a technology and you have got another digital well-being. Now all of these starts changing suddenly, and people start believing. People see and they believe, right? And then suddenly
Yes.
your entire book becomes like a thing. And topics also are funky, right? You write about 101, the topic says get to Flutter in 3 days. So that disconnect happens. So
Yes.
for those obviously who are writing books, I would say start with the blogs first, see people commenting, and then you probably have
Agreed.
that as a medium. Create a good sort of a few 20 odd pages, share it with the others, and the other side is also people who are sharing with should also give an honest opinion, right? Because
Yes.
we are in a circuit review. I think one of the most important thing is we need to give a good feedback to people. It can be
Agreed.
negative, but I always feel a negative feedback also has to go as a positive way. It should not
Yeah.
demotivate them. I mean, how many books
Constructive
have, I
feedback.
mean, constructive feedback in the right channel as well, right?
Yeah.
I have seen people just go and comment on someone else's books very badly. Don't buy the books. The books is
Yes.
horrible. This is, I think
I have faced the same.
also need to go and structure this out. You have to believe that that person is writing a book because he's recognized for it, right? It's not, I mean, the
Yeah.
book has got a vetting mechanism. It's not a direct way they will call and say, okay, your review, your Prajyot, write a book. They have seen your credibility. You have to also see, not everyone on the stage is really good, right? There are few
Yeah.
people whom you also might be, but I think the constructive feedback, I think this is generally when someone gives you, like I've also been in the other side as well, reviewing books as well. But whenever I give feedback, I give a constructive feedback in a way of this could improve, but I don't give the final decision. I leave the final decision to them, right? And again, like I
Yeah.
said, don't fear writing. Go and write it out. Even though people are going to comment on it, people are going to be feeling bad either way. So I think you need to comment and I see this one factor. Out of those 17 crores people review, if you impact one person, right, that is your
Mhm.
job done, right? You impact one
Agreed.
person and the rest will follow. You don't have to think about like a 12 crore, 13 crore people, who are going to follow the books. The first segment is you being part of that circuit of writing books if people are going to hate you because the other side
Yeah.
people don't want you to write the books, right? So
Yeah.
if you are genuine enough, you write with your own heart and soul. Rest everything will come, over the. I mean, your fifth book is going to be best compared to the first, and that's because technology is changing. You cannot
Yeah.
write things in and around. So, yeah, these are the 3 points. Rigu, over to you.
Those are really great points. Now, moving from books and community to startup side of things, right? Because you are a startup founder, you are a startup mentor, and you have worked in Goa startup ecosystem a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, my first question would be, what's your experience running your own company? Previously, you used to work for other companies. Now you started your own company. So, what was the experience like, and how to prepare for that switch?
Yeah. So good question. The switch wasn't really a bigger challenge, Raghu. The bigger challenge obviously comes from the demography from where I come, right? So Goa, obviously, when you start something in Goa for that matter, it is not considered to be a city where technological blooming has already happened. When I started back in years, obviously there were a good set of companies, but today we stand with number of companies, right? 250 odd IT companies that have evolved. The bigger challenge obviously is to that seriousness factor itself, right? So obviously when you start up, the bigger challenge of resource management and the sales
Yeah.
marketing part of it. So everything becomes very genetically. Let me tell you this very honestly, right? Being a developer and someone who is into sales and marketing is like a complete flip flop, right? Everyone needs to sell good things, right? You need to be a seller or whatever. When you go on the stage, you need to sell your energy. You want to sell your PPT. You want to interact. You want to
Yeah.
sell something, right? Every human being is a seller, right? That's one thing that has to be there. You are an author. You have to sell books. Because
Yes.
why are you writing books, right? It's not about the money part of it, Rivu. It's about that, okay, you have put in efforts and now you want people to admire that. Why you should do
Yeah.
it for free, right? Unless it is really required. In India, few things that I don't really like, and that happens in the few cities as well, is about thinking this mentality to be free. The free is also
Yeah.
at the cost of time, right? I think the mentorship concept itself is a bit of thing. So I had good likes of mentors where probably I used to interact with, starting point of how are things running in
Mm.
Goa. Can I start from Goa? Why I started from Goa? Obviously, because my roots are from Goa, so easily accessible kind of a thing. Yes, Goa bring back then also brought in a lot of challenges: internet, infrastructure, human resource,
Yes.
all of that. Today, when I reflect things, the challenges obviously are much less, and also the technological greatness that has Goa has evolved at has also been a good pace, right? We have 4G, and now we are talking about a greater G's as well. Now we also have a good infrastructure. Travel means are great, so all of that has really worked. Plus, co-working culture is now work from home. I think Goa is one of the most interesting states right now who enjoys being work from home. I mean, how cool
Yeah.
it be? Just come down, have a sun soaking, seat there, and you start coding. Right? We have so many people coming in. Goa is making that possible, right? And Goa is a name by itself, which people calling. I think that was one of the factors as well. Coming to the challenges, obviously, human resource, I think that's a problem otherwise as well. Sales and marketing part of it, obviously, when you start up, obviously, you don't become a developer. You think from the other side of it, and then you have to be like a pitch. You have to do a daily stock tank sort of a thing. Third, obviously, is the bigger challenge come is how do you mold yourself as a developer, sending an email to an actual company, CEO, MD,
Yes.
people sending an email. So there is a complete flip flop that happens. One of the biggest challenges that come in obviously is from a perspective where how do you define the kind of what you want to do and how will people buy? That kind of a medium is also a bit of a challenge. So in and all, it is a great experience, Rivu. One of the best thing that happens in the journey is you tend to learn well. You tend to learn like and you it's sort of doing like an MBA course while you do these things, right? Each day is
Yeah.
a learning phase, and for a developer, being an entrepreneur is a bit of a challenge to be honest, because we have this habit of sitting, solution, and then when you see the team members doing it, obviously, you can reflect on it. But one of the, I mean, if I have to give you, give the audience 2 cents about my, journey, I would rather say, the HR and the sales are the two sales marketing. These are the two important pillars of the business, right? They have to be right. You
Yeah.
not start a business and then about how you get your customer, right? Second is obviously don't spend too much of money. There is a difference between you raise a money and you raise, you build a money, right? So there are two different
Mhm.
things. Startups are created on how much money you have got, also on how much impact you create. So this has to be kind of an, at the center point where people feel admired about the startup and what impact that is bring. So for those who are starting up, I would say the first step you could do really is to talk to, some startup, founders or someone who has built from 0 to 100 to 1000, 1000 to
Mhm.
10,000 sort of a thing. Talk to them, understand their journey, because journey is not the same. Journey is going to be completely different. And second
Yeah.
is belief, because startup is not about just writing codes, right? You have to be there, grind every day, and then consistently build this entire journey. So in and all, it's a book that you need to write on yourself, because every day is learning thing. And every startup journey, I've interacted with so many startup founders over the years, and
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, when you make mistake, you have to accept it. These things happen, right? And when you are like in the olden era, we used to say, if you're a king, be there and embrace all the negativity that comes to your way.
Yeah.
So the very well that you are wearing a hat, you are bound to get blamed, right? You don't see someone else's
Yes.
issue. So yeah, I mean, that is what were my 2 cents. Just go grind yourself, go out there and fight. I think that is it. But make sure that you practice. I used to really like, I'm a big fan of movies. So obviously, I used to like the Spartans. They used to say,
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you fight before, right? I mean, you cannot go to the fight under prepared. You have to be really
Yeah.
prepared well. What is going to happen next day, right? Same thing applies in our daily life. Presentation day, you cannot think the audience is okay. Audience come, you don't, you have to ask those relevant questions. You prepare the slide. No one is going to come if the slides are the same, right? No one, like, even if you check few things, they would come. But if it's same demonstration, no one is going to be excited unless you are really good,
Yeah.
right? So the same point applies. Go out there, grind, keep it consistently running. It takes time, right? It does take time. It is a torture, but yes, it's a fun torture that goes along the way. Tribu, over to you.
Thanks. That was a great answer, and I'm sure many budding entrepreneurs would be benefited from it. And my next question comes: you talked about the state of startups in Goa, right? How it has changed over the years, and how it is now becoming a kind of technology hub where people are coming to work from home, right? So, how does the future look like in Goa? If
Yeah.
someone wants to start
Uh,
a startup at Goa, what they should expect?
yeah. Good question. Rivu. I think Goa is like on the radar, right? Kerala, Goa,
Yeah.
they're on the western coast, so obviously we get embraced. I would say the trigger point is vitamin D, right? You come to Goa, you get sun soaked, you get sand, you get nice water, a lot of cafes. Not
Yeah.
to offend anyone, but I think the pandemic has really been in the favor of Goa for bringing Goa into limelight in terms of IT. I'll tell you why. It's because of the work from home culture. When Goan engineers, right? We have like a six
Mhm.
engineering college. Go when we pass out, Bangalore and Pune becomes like an obvious destinations for us. You don't even have
Yes.
to think anywhere else, right? Similarly, when the companies open the doors for work from, what happened is someone sitting at the remote parts, even in Goa, now can even look out for companies across the world. So that has become like an access point. Plus, Goa also brings great connectivity of internet and a great travel means as well, right? So you have a
Mhm.
Western belt, you have coffee culture, we have co-working culture. The coffee culture, co-working culture, and Goa. That's like a awesome combination of things that can really work startups, right? Because you can sit anywhere, you
Yes.
can still get people to work for. The second, obviously, is our Goa state IT policy and startup policy. We are embracing people to start up in Goa because we see Goa as to be top 10 destination for startups in Asia, right? We are looking at that
Mhm.
perspective. We had blockchain events, we had obviously the GDGs events that happen through. We have so many events that happen in Goa. Now, why is Goa on the radar? Is simplicity, right? You have a great combination of food, culture, and the history which Goa evolves around, right? So that allows
Yeah.
a lot of things. Plus, we also have a great connectivity on flights. Now we have two airports, right? So still the
Mhm.
connectivity is really good. What has been really good is the government is very supportive in terms of evolving startups as well. And
Mhm.
that also comes review because the Goa is a very small state, right? We have a 50, around 15 lakhs of population, right? Right
Yeah.
now we stand on more than 250 IT companies, right? And which is a good number for Goa, but we want people to come down in Goa and start operational. Does it applicable for every other state? Yes, it is, because except for the, if you remove out the sun and the sand factor, what also comes in work from home culture is it can be IT anywhere. So Goa is just one
Yeah.
part of it, right? But yes, why people have come down and set up their own stores over here is because A is obviously, as I mentioned, the culture is self grooming, right? So you feel you're part of the ecosystem. Second is there are a lot of people who want to migrate to Goa is because of the less population. Like you have where larger cities have become too crowded, rents have
Yes.
increased. Goa rents are still decently enough, right? So some factors are really driving. And third is IT anywhere. I mean, who stops anyone to start a company sitting at home, right? You can sit at home
Yeah.
and have a company running from the company, and then have a Zoom or Google Meet to connect with all of them. That is today. That is how we stand today as well. So Goa is one a trigger point for sure. But then again, you need to have a great plan to migrate, because going to a new city, a lot of liabilities are there. But yes, all those audience who wish to come to Goa, Goa is a great IT policy. If you visit Goa startups, you have the entire policy, which I was part of as well during the May. During and I think a great credit goes to late our ex defense ministers Manoj Parikar
Yeah.
ji and Rohan Khauti sir, because I think I've seen him working personally, across the tables, and we have all been part of us, 7, 8 of us industry stakeholders when we did the policy. We have seen both of them working there and the shells out. So now it is all on people from India to come down to Goa, and explore the opportunities for them to make Goa to the next big scale. I think for that matter, Make in India could start in Goa as well. So that is there, and obviously I would also take
Yeah.
this medium. If anyone from your audience, obviously, and obviously across the channel, If anyone wants to really know about startup, I'm more than happy to connect and help them with the pinpoints, or any questions they might have about Goa startups, or at least connect with the right set of people in the ministry or at the departmental levels, where they can get really good guidance if at all they want to start up in Goa. Over to you.
Sure, thanks, sir. And if any one of you are looking to start up at Goa or move your startup from any other state to Goa, then please do reach out to Prajyot sir. And he was part of the all Goa startup policies, and he's in connection with almost everyone in Goa. Everyone in IT industry in Goa knows him by name, knows him by face. So do reach out to him. He will definitely help you out. And now, coming back to software, nowadays people are frightened with the release of GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT. That what would be the software development of future look like? Would everything be AI generated, or people will still write code? So yeah, I have my opinions on it, but I won't comment here now. I want to hear your opinion.
Um, I'm not a big fan of AI, Rivu. It's because I'll give you a simple example, right? Today, people are generating content on what is
Yeah.
the, what, I mean, it is like a flight which is gone on autopilot, right?
Yes.
And then the question comes is, why do you need pilots as well, right? The takeoff can happen. The very fact that co-pilot also needs, auto mode in the, in the airlines also needs some pilot, and that two pilots itself explains the story. AI will simplify the work for sure, right? It cannot
Yes.
replace human, right? I'll give you a simple example. I mean, you go to ChatGPT and put a topic, you will get the content. Now, can you imagine, like, there are billions of people. Yesterday, ChatGPT server was down for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And this happens very regularly. I mean, how much could a free GPUs run, right? There has to be a CPU brain that runs in. Now, what it is doing is making us lazy, right? That's a simple term. It's making us lazy. How can you replace developers writing code? I mean, it's like comparing, hardcore development that goes in. You cannot bring, you can build anything, but you cannot bring a customer experience in it, right? You can build.
Yeah.
What is AI? Nothing. In the simplest term, it is trained bot, which is giving and learning and training, and all of that just goes in circles, right? Now,
Yeah.
imagine this. I'm writing an article about, say Goa. I will get a ready-made content, right? My efforts are zero. Credibility is zero. On top, you are impacting your search engine ratings. You are impacting everything because the same article, probably same words would be there in someone else's article.
Yeah.
Now, the content generation is one. It has to be compact. It has to be impacted as well. There is so many
Yes.
tools as well that are available. I mean, ChatGPT is just an assembly of things, but there have been other tools which generate articles for you,
Mhm.
generate threads for you, whether it is on Facebook, whether it is on Twitter. I mean, everyone is putting the same content. I mean, everyone is doing the
Yes.
same thing. Then why do we really need, to go and generate? I mean, everything can be so automated, right? I mean, there is no
Mhm.
fun. I think programming is not an it's not just about writing codes. It is that fun element of problem solving, right? It's an arena.
Yes.
It's like a game. You go need to go there and experiment. Like, you have worked with so many codes, right? Solving
Yeah.
customer, when it is like, customer comes, okay, it is happening on Android 13, but it is not happening on Android 10. Now, how would someone and the AI would go and do that unless it is very
Yeah.
sophisticated? But going and solving a particular problem is very important, right? I mean, it is so much of a feedback to you. I mean, how much are we going to make? I think it is just like saying, AI is making us lazy. Yes. To other side of it, it can simplify the work. Like, you want to get some title ideas, you want to get some ideas, you want to trim something. Yes, great tools, but you cannot depend on that, right? You cannot depend wholeheartedly on that. Is because tomorrow, even if you give me an option, right, the chat gpt or any other tools are actually building the code for you, I will not trust it. Is because I really don't know if the same code has been generated for someone else, and probably we both are doing same thing. And I think that comes by the nature as well. We have actually gone from a days which is like, drag and drop builders. We talk about drag and drop builders.
Yeah.
So can you imagine, like, the in the old VBs, right? Visual Basics also had that. I mean, we have come from that era
Yes.
itself, right? I still love C for that matter, C plus plus, because that was a harder times. When you come from the harder times, when you have a smaller drop of internet and you're still struggling to get it. I think that is an engineering side of it.
Yeah.
What these AI tools are doing is making the job easier for people to believe that engineers are like bots who are building things. The entire credibility is journey, right? You have to realize this part. Working on an app which has got like a 10,000 download versus an app that streams like a billion users during IPL or FIFA is not
Yes.
joke. Requires a lot of stability, and it is an architectural mind. So, long and short, I am not a big fan of AI whatsoever tools. Yes, I use AI tools for simple things, but I will not completely depend on them to be the next big future. To be honest, yes, if it becomes, it will simplify some jobs, but why to take the credibility of the people? I think you have to respect writers. You have to respect everything. Make it easy, but don't make them feel dependent on it, right? I mean, there is too much of a dependency on these tools.
Yeah, agreed. And I think on no code and low code platforms as well, your opinion should be
Uh,
same, right?
yeah. I mean, it is like it is saying that why do you want to do engineering when you don't want to really go and write the codes, right?
Yeah.
Engineering is all about. I mean, you might not be a good coder, right? You might be a good
Mhm.
program manager, but to understand the program itself, you have to understand the product, right? You need to
Yeah.
have an insight about the product. Drag and drop builders, no code builders, low code builders are really good for people who wants to just go out. If you don't have time, you just want to create some drag and drop, create a fancy pages. But
Yeah.
then sometimes
Uh,
I think back, and what is wrong with WordPress, right? WordPress, you install it, takes 5 minutes. You have some themes on it. Your job is done. You have e-commerces. You have Shopify. You have got everything in play today. We are at the epitome of technology today, Rivu. We are at the
yes.
point where we have everything. There is WhatsApp communication. You have Slack. You have got every single tool for everything. On top, you're going to have another medium which is AI. Nothing but bots running you, right? They are learning and training. I'm
Yes.
not a big fan of no code, low code. Yes, it's a great thing, but I think it is driving people of less coding. And my opinion, I don't like anything which is less code. I fear when someone talks about less code, because I think coding is it's like an operation which doctors do, right? First is writing that level of code. Okay, it runs. Then next comes is it running effectively? Then it comes, is it running optimized? Can it scale? So so many of
Yeah.
questions that come in. How would AI do all of that? Even if someone does, even there is 50 years down the line, if there is any chat GPT version 22 also that writes a
Mhm.
code, what it will not do is that journey of bug fixing, right?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure of a journey. When you solve your own bug and that happiness, it's like a eureka moment, right? It's like you go back to your days, or I will go back to my days as well, where we compiled our first program, and that hello run, hello world
Yes.
run comes, right? And that's like the most, it runs something. Sometimes we do that, and
Yeah.
simple things. It is now, and there is no fun. I remember back in days we used to have this subject called as computer graphics, and then
Mhm.
we used to have this, writing a code of someone kicking the football and all of that bit.
Yeah.
But there is a fun in that. Now you just go and write the code. I mean, there's no learning. All point which I want to coincide here is coding is not a writing codes. It's much beyond that.
Yes.
Nothing can replace that. That's for sure. If someone wants to replace, then well, that's their optimal choice. For me, I still like to write codes. I still like to analyze code, because this coding is like it's like a journey. It's like part one of a one movie and part three, four, never ending journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's my answer. Good to have tool. Whether they should have the tools or not, I'm not really sure. I'm of the opinion
Yeah.
that yes, code is much better than no and low code.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree on that, and I think yeah, it's for people who come from a non-engineering background, right? Say product or marketing, they want to build a startup, and they quickly want to build a prototype, and it's a great tool to have in those
Yeah,
cases. But at the end of the day, you will need a developer to build a customized product for you
yeah.
that
Yep,
you truly want, right?
that is
And
correct.
yeah, that's all the questions. Apart from one question that I missed asking. So if some speaker comes, right? So there are a lot of new students and new engineers who are coming to community. Community is a very new thing for them, right? And if they want to give a talk, right, so they probably solved something interesting and they already wrote a blog about it and they want to start speaking.
Yeah,
But what I have seen is that they fear the
yeah,
stage, right? Stage fear is there. It was same case for me as well. I started as an organizer, then as a speaker, so I got over it very quickly. But yeah, for people who are starting as a speaker, it's a big thing to overcome. So, what's your suggestion to them?
yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing. Good question. Firstly, I get this after often asked every second day about speaking. This journey has been special because I used to fear stage quite often, Rivu. Back in the days, I'm talking very
Yeah.
very then probably almost 20 years back, right? How I overcame on that is firstly, one of the tips that comes very often to my mind is always be present half an hour to 45 minutes before the session, right? So
Yeah.
if the conference starts at 9:30, there at 8:30. Why is that? Is because you need to get a feel of things, right? You have to get and feel key, camera kahan hai, where is the stage, where is the audience. Second, which is the most important thing, interact with everyone. You make like a friendship building. Like, I don't know you, but hi, Rivu. Oh, I'm going to speak on this. So what happens is when you make little bit of friendship with them, a little bit of understanding, less likely they will enjoy it more than thinking who you are, right? So they will
Yeah.
just interact with you. Third is, which is very underrated, right, is practice. You have to be back home, and talking to yourself. You have a mirror, you have a set of audience, get there.
Yes.
The fourth, you after the presentation, just go and meet those people. What do you feel about it?
Yes.
Rivu, how was the talk? Rivu, give me some feedback. I could improve. Note this point down, revise it next time. And the fifth
Yes.
point, which comes, I think I should have said fifth as the first point, is it's okay to fear, and the fear should continue with you. It's because when you
Yes.
don't fear, you are overconfident. That overconfidence will mess out the entire thing once again. So
Yeah.
get on the stage. I will give you a pro tip actually for the audience is if you fear stage, it's not the stage fear. It's actually the fear of the people, right? You will have people looking
Yeah.
at you as if, okay, who's this person? So I always tell them, don't look at the people. You look somewhere else only. You look between that eyes. You keep someone like, keep your family member there, keep Rivu there, keep Prajyot there at the end, and you keep looking at that person only, right? So what happens is at least you know, okay, someone is listening. And I
Mhm.
usually tell these things that, you have that person, or you keep 4 or 5 people in the audience, you just tell them to do this. Okay, like after every point. So you have like someone saying yes. Okay, you feel good. Okay, you're going well, and you have them like here, 5, 6 people randomly who are your friends only. You bribe them with a coffee, you bribe them with something relevant, practical, and you keep them and tell them to do this. And it has worked for most of the people that I have told them, right? So what happens is, those things really happen well. And, this speaker is a journey. And, worst of the people, best of the people will have one of the bad days, right? Even if
Yeah.
you're well prepared, the audience is not ready. Imagine like you're going to China and talking in English, right? Or Chinese coming and talking, you will not know. Sometimes you have to be really, this comes with an experience, and even an experienced person will face, stage,
Yeah.
have a stage fear. And I think up and beyond, besides these 5 points, I would say don't, ever look at the presentation as presentation, right? Presentation
Yeah.
is for others. The concept should be in your mind. You need to know
Yeah.
what is a page number 5 for you and page number 3. You cannot just go and look at indicators for you, turn back, look at the screen and read the same thing. You have to tell the story, right? So when Rivu is talking about something, Kotlin, it should be story. It should be talking about something that you have faced and you have overcome that. That is
Yeah.
more exciting than 101s of Kotlin. Similarly, when I'm talking, I would give like what is the journey, what is like ABC, how you can overcome that. People come with some expectation. That is also true that you cannot provide despite to everyone. Select out of those 100, even 50% of the audience like you, they will come. But obviously this is an iteration process. But for those, the question that you asked, right, for those who are fearing stage, you cannot keep it over all your life, right? Today
Yeah.
I think the interviews happen more on presentation more than your CV reading 60 pages or 70 pages. You have to go on the stage, and that is an earned place. It cannot be earned sitting at home. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
It is like going to people like Rivu in Kolkata saying, Rivu, I have done this, I want to speak. What is the procedure? Rivu would say no first time. You consistently ask Rivu, can I speak at GDG Kolkata, GDG Bangalore, or any other company? And there would be a point where Rivu will recognize you and would say, okay, you go next, right? And that kind of a
Mhm.
thing. Similarly with me, there would be some people, but also one other thing, Rivu, and that would be one of the final lines here, would be they should not take any feedback very negative, right? A lot of time
Yeah.
what happens if someone, the speakers get, papers are not selected. Isn't something which I find very very obnoxious sometimes, is because the people feel my paper is rejected, I'm a bad speaker, right? It's not true. Sometimes if
Yeah.
you know you're sitting in a mathematics class and someone we call as a physics professor to talk about mathematics, it is not going to be liked. So you need to realize that everyone goes through a stage where sometimes you have to realize that speaker is good. That's why you have to invite. Sometimes there are sponsors. Sometimes there are people who want to really contribute. So
Yeah.
sometimes if your papers sessions are rejected, don't think, let it just go out of the mind and come back to
Yeah.
you and say, okay, it's an off day, forget about it. Don't go and curse saying that, okay, I knew much better than them, that speaker is much better than me, I'm better than them. Those things are small little child plays,
Agreed.
don't happen. And this is not something which is new. So approach, but keep an yes or no to yourself. It is not like your papers would get 100% clear. Sometimes there are decisions made, you cannot. I mean, it's like a cricket match. If the score run rate goes more than 10, you cannot someone like a just a defensive player there. You need hard hitters to go there. That person cannot
Yeah.
think, okay, I have scored 10,000 runs, 20,000 runs. Should I not? So life is just like that. Life, you need to play chess. Like every move is important, but at the same time, sometimes if the opponent is playing better, you need to learn from the opponent. It's not about I know chess for so many years, right? So it is about specific moves. The best moves come at the best time for you, right? And you have to wait for that right opportunity, just like chess. So play safe, but at the same time, embrace openness of thoughts. I think that would be, approach when someone falls back, say that, okay, this is a good time. So
Yeah.
opportunities would rely to your life. Wait for that, and once you get that opportunity, take that opportunity, and you will just grow up and beyond that. So these are my, speaker related things. But yes, take the opportunity. I think everyone should take an opportunity. I mean, we need all the more speakers, right, Rivu? We need more
Yeah.
speakers, and we also, as a developers, we also want to be sitting in the audience and learn, right? We are not some experts, even though we have given some talks. We want to sit and understand.
Yeah.
Every day is learning. We want to learn from each of the audience that is probably listening to you at this point. What do
Agree.
you, Rivu?
Agree.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And I think the point you made, right, that take the learning and grow it not only applies to speaking, it also applies to starting your startup, it also
Yeah.
applies to building community and everything, right? Everything we talked about today, it applies to life as well. Right.